behavior in someone, showing a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy, or a need for admiration. Our next guest says you may have been dealing with a narcissist.
Narcissistic abuse, it can be hard to identify, but it usually shows itself in some form of emotional or psychological abuse. Joining us now to explain more is Dr. Ramani Durvasula. She is a clinical psychologist and author of the new book, It Is Not You, Identifying and Healing from Narcissistic People. Okay, so let's start with just this idea of narcissism and being a narcissist. We do hear that word a lot nowadays where people say that's a narcissist, that's narcissistic. What does it really mean? And how do you know if you were dealing with someone that is truly, by clinical definition, a narcissist?
Right, so the mistake a lot of folks are saying somebody was selfish, they're narcissistic. Somebody lied to me, they're narcissistic. Those aren't nice things, but in order for it to be narcissism, you need all of the things. You need the lack of empathy, the entitlement, the grandiosity, the arrogance. When you're in these relationships, these are people who don't listen to you. It feels very manipulative. They're gaslighting you. They're doubting your reality. They're telling you something's wrong with you. They get very angry if you give them any feedback or criticism. But if they give it to you, you should be fine with it. So there feels like there's a lot of hypocrisy in these relationships. And people in these relationships feel confused because they really start sort of fabulously. We call it love bombing. It's idealization and seduction. It can even feel like a fairy tale. And then when it starts to unravel, people really do start wondering, it's got to be me because this was so good for so long. So what am I doing wrong? And then people get really invested in this idea, if I do this and this, I'll bring them back around. They'll change. But actually, no, the front part was very performative, draw you in. The stuff that's going to last forever is that low empathy, that entitlement, and that general bad behavior.
So you're saying that when dealing with a person that has these tendencies, you as the recipient on the other side of that relationship, even if you think you could change them, you can't? Is that the case, though, for a lot of different kinds of personality issues, or is it more concrete with narcissism?
With narcissism, it is more concrete because narcissism, by definition, is more rigid and more maladaptive. And people who are narcissistic don't have a lot of ability to self-reflect, saying, whoa, what I'm doing is hurting someone else, right? The healthier the personality, the more flexible it is. And while introverts are going to introvert and agreeable people are going to always be warm, you can push it. An agreeable person could kind of get their game on to negotiate a deal hard, but then they'll say, ooh, that was hard, but they could do it.
Right.
For a narcissistic person, they'll often get quite angry at the other person, saying, how dare you tell me there's something wrong with you? Maybe the problem's you.
Right.
So they'll be very quick to shift blame onto the other person. So people in these relationships feel like they're constantly being blamed for things they literally didn't do, which only magnifies the confusion.
Oh, that's good.
So often when we talk about toxic relationships, people just immediately think romantic relationships, and that's that. But you could be in a situation where you might have somebody involved in your life who is a narcissist and treating you badly, be it a friend, a family member. How do you navigate that and explain how that might look? Say it's not a partner, but say it's your mom.
Oh yeah, no, in fact, narcissistic parents are probably one of the things I encounter most, because not only does it affect you now, it shapes you as a child, right? You're basically told, do things my way, kiddo, or basically you're kind of not going to be loved that much. Or so the child really learns, I need to become what my parent wants. I need to meet my parents' needs. I need to do them. So that what happens is these are painful relationships because people don't feel they can disengage. So they have to learn different ways of pulling away, setting boundaries, and it can be really devastating.
You really helped us recognize a lot of these symptoms, and hopefully folks can reach out for some professional help if they feel like they're in one of those relationships. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, clinical psychologist and author of It's Not You. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Ramani.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great conversation.
Thank you.